In this video, we'll be creating an advanced modular and decoupled health system and HealthBar. Let's get right into it. Alright, so for the setup, I simply have a player here, which we'll use later to put the HealthBar on. By the way, if you're interested in making a character controller like this with animations, you can check out the video in the top right corner. Anyway, so let's get started. Let's go to our scripts folder, which you can create if you haven't already. Let's then right-click, create, scripting, mono behavior script, and we're going to call this help. Okay, so with our script created and opened up, the first thing I'm going to do is delete these comments. All right, I'm also going to delete the update function. We don't need it. There we go. Then on the top here, I'm going to do public int current health, and I'm going to do get private set. Okay, so again, I'm making this a property, right? So what this does is basically get allows this to be accessed from other scripts, but private set makes it so that we can only change the value inside of this script, which is what we want, of course, right? So I'm going to create a second property. So public int, I'm going to call this max health, and again, I'm going to make this a private setter. And then in front of here, I'm going to do field semicolon serialized field. So this allows this to be this allows us to assign it through the inspector because we want to assign the max health in the inspector, right? Then on start, I'm going to do current health equals max health. There we go. Right. And then I'm going to also create a take damage function. So I'm going to do public void take damage, and I'm going to take in a damage parameter, right? And then in here, we can simply do current health minus equals damage, right? We're subtracting the damage from our current health, okay? The last thing we want to do is create two events here. So here I'm going to do public event action and then int because we want to take in an integer as a parameter here. And I'm going to call this on health changed. Right, when we invoke this event, we want to pass in the current health as a parameter, right? And then I'm going to do public event action on death, right? So this gets called when our health goes to 0 or below, and obviously we don't want to pass in anything here. So let's go to our take damage function now, and we can simply do we can simply invoke on health change here. So on health changed dot invoke. And we're going to pass in our current health, okay? And then under here, you can put an if statement. So if current health is smaller than or equal to 0, we can actually invoke our on death event. So we're going to do on death dot invoke. Lastly, make sure that you add a question mark after both of the events, like this. This is very important because if the events are empty, then it will throw an error if you don't put this question mark. So this is very, very important. And then we also want to put this on that event to null because we only want to call this one time, right? So this health script is very reusable. You can put it on the player, on the enemy, pretty much anywhere. All right, anyway, let's head back into Unity now. All right, so inside of Unity, on the player, I want to drag this health script, all right, like so. And then I want to put the max health to something like 100. I mean, you can choose which value you put in, all right? Okay, so with that done, we basically already have our health, but now it's time to create the health bar. So I'm going to go to our player, right-click. I'm going to go to UI canvas, and then I'm going to click canvas, all right? And then I'm going to go to the right here. I'm going to select this menu. I'm going to select world space because, again, we want this to hover over our player. And then under here, I'm going to go to UI canvas, and I'm going to make a slider. I'm going to call this health bar, like so. And let's actually quickly make sure canvas is positioned correctly. So I'm going to put the position X to 0 and the position Y to 0. There we go. Okay, so our HealthBar is a bit massive now, so I'm going to put the width to maybe 10 and of the canvas and the height to 10 as well. All right, and then put the scale to 0.01. Okay, so that should be a bit better. Let's see here. Okay, that's better. All right, so I can drag that above our player. There we go. So the slider is not looking correct yet, but don't worry, we'll actually tweak it. All right, and I actually want to rotate this like so. There we go. So I want to rotate this 180 degrees. There we go. Okay, so with that done, so yeah, make sure that the circle is on the left because we want the health to go from left to right, of course, okay? Anyway, so let's head over to our health bar. Let's expand this. Okay, so I want to delete this slider. So go to the handle slider, delete this. Then I'm going to go to the fill area. All right, and the fill, I want to make it red. So I'm going to just make this red here. Okay, there we go. And then I'm going to go back to the health bar. And I'm going to drag in the fill as the target graphic, like that. Okay. And then I want to come down and I want to put the value to the maximum. Okay, so I want to put the value to 1. Okay. So by the way, the fill is not reaching the entire helper. So I'm going to go to fill area. I'm going to press T or go to this tool right here. And I'm going to drag this out just a little bit. So that way our health fits right in the slider like that. Okay, that's better. Okay, so with that done, now the last thing to do is to actually make our health bar script, right? So what I'm going to do is right click, create, scripting, mono behavior script. I'm going to call this health bar like that. All right, so with our script created, let's remove these comments real quick. Okay. All right, so I'm going to create a few variables. So I'm going to do slider, call this health bar. Then I'm going to grab a reference to our health component as well. So health, and then I'm going to also grab a reference to our main camera. So I'm going to do camera, call this main camera. So again, we need this so that our health bar is always facing the camera, right? Okay, so then I'm going to change the start function to awake. This is very important, so make sure that you do this. Then in here, I'm going to do health bar equals get component slider, because again, we're going to put the script on our health bar slider. Then I'm going to do health equals get component in parent health, again, because this will be a child object of our player where the health component is on, okay? So then I'm going to do main camera equals camera dot main. So what this will do is just grab the main camera from our scene. So now let's actually set up the health bar values. We're going to do health bar dot max value equals health dot max health. Okay, and then I'm going to do health bar dot value equals health dot max health as well. Because again, we want the max value of the slider and the current value of the slider to be the max health, right? Because we want to be the bar to be full at first, okay? All right, so then update, I'm going to make sure that the health bar faces the camera. So let's do transform dot rotation equals quaternion dot look rotation transform dot position minus camera main camera dot transform dot position, like so. So again, making sure that the health bar always faces the camera. Now I want to create a function. So let's do void. Let's call this set health bar. So in here we're going to take a int as a parameter. So call this current health. And then in here, I will simply do health bar dot value equals current health. So this function will be used to set the current health, right? So now let's actually subscribe to our event, right? To this on health changed event with this function here. So what we're going to do is do void on enable. Okay, again, make sure that the spelling is correct because this is a function called by Unity, just like awaken update. So the spelling has to be exact. All right, so in here we're going to do health dot on health changed plus equals set HealthBar. All right, there we go. And then I'm going to do I'm going to do void on disable. And in here I'll do the same, but minus equals. Okay, now back into Unity, the last thing we have to do is go to our player again, go to the canvas, and then the health bar. And then here I just want to drag the health bar component. Okay, that's all. So again, one thing to note is that this works only if, again, the health bar is under the player, right? If you make a health bar that's outside of the player, that's not in world space, then this specific HealthBar script is not going to work because it's grabbing the health component from the parent object, okay? So that's just one thing to keep in mind. Okay, so let's test out our health system now. So I created a damage example script, again, just to demonstrate, right? For this example. So again, we have this damage parameter, so I can define how much damage we do. And then I have a reference to the player health, so I can actually damage the player or the enemy, whatever, right? And then, so again, here, there's a script. So if we press space, we call the take damage function, right? So we damage the enemy, right? And then on start, we subscribe to the on death event, right? And when the enemy dies, we print enemy died to the console, okay? So let's actually try it out. All right, so when I press space, there we go. The health bar is going down just as expected, right? As you can see, we do 20 damage and our max health is 100. So every time I take damage, the health bar goes down by about 20%. So that's working as expected. All right, so the enemy should be one hit away from dying. There we go. And now it printed enemy died, right? So the event is working as expected. One more thing I want to show is why this system works so well. So if I damage the health bar a few times, like this, I can now literally delete the canvas, right? Completely remove it, and we will not get an error, right? With other systems, you would actually get an error here, but here it's completely decoupled, right? And I'll show you because I can damage the health bar 2 more times, like this, and there we go. It still works completely perfectly, right? We still get the event enemy died, so that means the health component is not coupled to the health bar, right? You can choose if you want to use the health bar or not with the health component. Okay, so that was it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, leave a comment down below. See you next time.